with 142 pavilions showing the best that countries all over the world have to offer and covering an area of over 5 square kilometres. The Shanghai 2010 Expo is the biggest world fair ever. Some 70 million people are expected to visit. The environment is the main theme of the Expo, but as we discover in the first of a new series of features from Shanghai, the real issues can be lost among the blaze of publicity and the crowds of people. From today, we'll be taking an in-depth look at the Expo, starting where it all began, at the first World Fair in London, nearly 160 years ago. The Great Exhibition of 1851 was held in the glass, steel and wooden Crystal Palace. The Watt steam engine and Stephenson steam locomotive engine were both exhibits at the fair, which marked the transition between the agricultural and the industrial age. 159 years later, in 2010, another World Fair, the Shanghai Expo, opens on the banks of the Huangpu River. This time, the environment is top of the agenda.
In the 19th century, it was based on Europe and the power of the Industrial Revolution. And to be blunt, it was about business. They wanted to sell their products. At that time, the human race acted rashly and brought about destruction and pollution. But you can see a turnaround today. A lot of exhibitors are reflecting on that.
With over a century of history, the purpose of the World Fair is to showcase the technological achievements of mankind. The problem was, humans sacrificed the environment in a race for development. But now, more and more countries recognize that a better and brighter future can no longer come at the expense of the planet. Rather, man must learn how to live in harmony with nature.
Today, in the 21st century, I think it's totally different. We know that if we carry on like this, the Earth can be written off.
Eco-friendly architecture is the main theme of the exhibition. Yet, after it closes, only 4 of the pavilions along the central axis and the urban best practices area will survive. Just building and dismantling the other pavilions will create a huge carbon footprint. Meanwhile, in step with the Expo theme, many of the pavilions stress their emission-cutting designs. The aim is to use building materials and construction methods that are eco-friendly and do not put a burden on the environment. This pavilion is China's first ever carbon-neutral building. Solar and wind energy provide enough power for the entire structure, cutting emissions to zero. But inside we discover that although the pavilion is not designed to need air conditioning, it is nevertheless fitted with an air cooling system. The reason was the fear that large crowds of people would make it stuffy inside. So the Expo's carbon-neutral buildings have air conditioning, which rather defeats the point.
这4面墙就展示了我们货场生态家所运用到的一些环保回收材料。硬式马桶，你走到它前面，它这个盖子会自动，这是太阳能发电，这是太阳能热水。
A guided tour like this is unfortunately only available to VIPs. Other visitors to the Shanghai Expo have to fight through the crowds just to get in. After at least 2 or 3 hours and up to 4 or 5 hours in a queue, you finally reach the pavilions. There are no guides and some have not bothered to put up plaques explaining their energy-saving features. The wandering visitors can hardly be blamed for not understanding the carbon-cutting designs.
I didn't see any environmental issues. I only know Germany makes steel.
The German metal sphere was very good. When people shouted, it lit up.
There were too many people. It was too crowded to look closely. Today, the clearest thing I saw was the Denmark mermaid. I took a photo there.
This elderly couple say the Expo did not live up to its promise of better living.
生活更城市让生活更美好的一个主题啊，怎么反映出来？好像反而不够。
As visitors who come to learn leave disappointed, it seems to be a shame that the pavilions that can pull in the crowds have overlooked their educational function. Even reporters fare little better. Officials from the Breathing Japan pavilion refused an interview and asked us to sign an agreement before releasing a promotional video.
Don't broadcast the whole original film. You can edit it and add effects, but you can't use the original.
Touted as a gallery of human inspiration and thought, the Shanghai Expo seems to lack interaction with its public. We also noticed a number of visitors stamping these $4 Expo passports. These people are collecting stamps without going inside the pavilions because, according to our sources, a full Expo passport can fetch over $700 auctioned online. Sold as a lesson in sustainable development, although the facilities are eco-friendly, at the dining areas, the daily crowd of over 100,000 people use disposable eating utensils, creating garbage and emissions. Record-breaking in terms of size, cost and popularity, we can only hope that after the Shanghai Expo finishes, visitors come away with at least some idea of how to live in harmony with nature.